Thank you for joining the Travels with Kev podcast, a podcast where we get you on track to travel. Whether you're an intermediate traveler trying to up your game or a brand new traveler just getting your start, we are here to help you. And I wanted to say something about that. I always say we. And Travels with Kev is actually just me. But when I say me, I mean you and I. I hope that you look at this as a conversation that we're having together, that we're going to get you traveling. Today's topic is Amtrak trains with multiple route numbers. Have you researched an Amtrak adventure and found the results with two or more trains with the same name and departure times? Why does Amtrak do this? Amtrak has two routes that split, or the trains come together depending on which direction. It's the Empire Builder and the Lakeshore Limited. And the Texas Eagle and the Sunset Limited have this too, but we'll get to that a little bit later. For example, if you're going west side of Chicago, you can take the Empire Builder to either Seattle or Portland. Obviously, they're not the same endpoint. So what happens is, between Chicago and Spokane, Amtrak runs two trains together as one train set, Train 7 and 27. Train 7 is the Chicago to Seattle train, and Train 27 is the Chicago to Portland train. In Spokane, that one train will become two. Coming home, there will be a train that starts in Seattle, that's Train 8, and Train 28 will start in Portland, and then in Spokane, they will become one all the way to Chicago. Similar thing happens with the Lakeshore Limited. There is a Boston section and a New York section. And in Albany Rensselaer, I think that's how you pronounce that, those trains will either come together to go west to Chicago, or if it's going east, it will split at those points. What it does is it allows Amtrak to cover more areas more effectively instead of running two trains. Now, there's a slightly different approach to that, and that's with the Texas Eagle. 3 days a week, the Texas Eagle runs from Chicago to LA and back. And what happens with that is Amtrak will put usually an extra coach car and an extra sleeper car onto the normal Texas Eagle. And that whole train runs down to San Antonio. And in San Antonio, they'll take the coach and sleeper car off and put that on the Sunset Limited. So between San Antonio and LA, the Sunset Limited runs as the Sunset Limited Texas Eagle. Between New Orleans, where the Sunset Limited starts, and San Antonio, it just runs as the Sunset Limited. So if you're boarding the train in LA and you are going to Austin, for example, you will be in the Texas Eagle section of that train. I hope all that makes sense. Now let's get down to what you really wanted to know. That's about buying tickets for one of these trains. If you take the Empire Builder from Milwaukee to La Crosse, it doesn't matter if you're on Train 7 or 27. Both trains will get there simultaneously. Unless you're after more points, why pay more? Go with the cheapest ticket for the accommodation that you want. Occasionally, though, you might come across something where you are going from, we'll start again in Milwaukee, to Portland. And it might offer you a multiple train. So what could happen in that case is Amtrak would offer you a sleeper in Train 7, and then in Spokane, you would switch to Train 27. If you want to make this change, you are more than welcome to. But sometimes it's worth paying a little extra so you don't have to change rooms, especially because that can happen later on at night. Sometimes if the room that you're going to is open, they'll let you transfer over to that section of the train. It may or may not be worth spending a few extra dollars for the convenience of possibly going to bed early. When preparing to board the train, have your tickets in hand and listen for instructions. Sleeper and coach cars for each section are together, but not all the coach cars and sleeping cars are together. Let me explain this. We'll keep with the Empire Builder example. When leaving Chicago, the Seattle sleepers are up front, followed by the dining car. Then the Seattle coaches, and then the Sightseer Lounge Cafe car, then the Portland coaches, and then the Portland sleepers. So you want to make sure that you're listening for where you're going, because if you're a Portland sleeper and you walk all the way to the front of the train, you're going to have to walk all the way back. And it is similar for the Lakeshore Limited. Keeping with the Empire Builder example, sometimes conductors may put the 7 and 27 coach passengers together in the same car if the destination is before the split. For example, they could put all the people going to St. Paul in one car, regardless if they have Train 7 or Train 27 on your ticket. Once you're on the train, feel free to walk around and get off the train at the smoke stops. But make sure you get back in the right car and seat so the conductors can get you off at the right spot. Do not change cars without talking to the staff. If you move, there's a chance when the train splits that you will be in the wrong section. Plus, not all doors open at all stops. The moral of the story: go with the cheapest tickets when it makes sense for you and your adventure you want to book. When boarding, listen for instructions that you get in the right car. When traveling, always know your train's name and number and the destination of your train or layovers. Knowing the last stop on your route is helpful as well. I hope this clarifies the confusion that it may create. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. There is a blog post that is associated with this podcast, and it is in the show description. If you have any other questions, feel free to go with travelswithkev.com and see if the answers are there. If not, feel free to reach out and contact me, and I'll try to help you to the best that I can. If you found value in today's podcast, please go to travelswithkev.com/value to find out how you can help give value to others. I hope you appreciated today's podcast, and I hope you have a great day. See you out there. Bye.